Blizzard, what have you done to Hanzo? The hero is absolutely disgusting. I don't know what Blizzard are doing. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. So in this video, yeah, we're going to discuss Hanzo. I mean, also this Mercy. I mean, this was actually super cheeky res, but whatever. Hanzo, get out the game, Echo. Disgusting. But what I want to talk about is the impact Hanzo and Echo are having on main tanks and what the hell Blizzard are doing with the game balance right now, because the game was in a really good state back in, I want to say October. Was pretty good. It felt really great. I think a lot of people really enjoyed the game then. And then there's been a bunch of changes which have been kind of weird. And there's heroes like Ball who, yeah, are kind of, yeah, and Sigma, and yeah, there's a lot we can say, ladies and gentlemen. But I want to keep this video fairly concise because I want to focus on main tanks specifically. Reinhardt, Orisa, and Winston. And Winston is suffering a lot right now. This is disgusting. He's suffering a lot right now. And the impact spam heroes like Orisa and Hanzo are having on their survivability. Now, one thing has got to be said. Hanzo is... Can I say, well, yeah, Hanzo is meta at the moment just because he's been buffed. And this happens a lot with Overwatch. You will see heroes get picked up and start being played a ton when they get a balance change, which the community perceives as being really strong. Now, beyond the no illusions here, this is a really strong change. Like, Hanzo can do a lot of damage now. This is because they decrease the, let's say, the downtime between shots with Storm Arrows, so you just fire them off quicker, which means you've got a lot of burst damage. You can see there, like, I didn't hit anyone with that because I just spammed them randomly, but you can do a lot of damage. Now, of course, to main tanks, the enemy team here doesn't have main tanks. They've got Roadhog and they've got Ball. But to main tanks, you're pumping out so much damage into them that it's very hard for them to survive. Your Reinhardt, your Orisas, your Winstons just get wrecked really quick, especially when your Reinhardt's got his barrier deployed. You know, you're spamming with a Hanzo into that. You're chewing through it really quick. Add the other DPS in, which might be an Echo. The amount of damage there is ridiculous. The Reinhardt can't frontline anymore, and then he suffers a lot. The only tanks which are kind of viable in this scenario, it still is your Sigma, where Sigma can use his suck ability, and it is almost like his get out of jail card, where he can just, well, negate damage instead of absorbing the damage, losing one of his resources, right? He just doesn't. Anyway, that's enough of me being terrible with Hanzo. Let's go and take a look at this in the training range so we can explain it in a bit more detail and kind of look at the way this is impacting the game and some reasons why that might be the case. Okay, let's talk about the tanks, guys, and what is going on in the game. Because right now, if you're a main tank player out there, I feel very sorry for you because the game is so much front-loaded damage coming into the game, especially on projectile heroes. You are getting deleted super fast, and it is very frustrating to play either Reinhardt, Orisa, or Winston. And Winston is suffering a lot. Reinhardt is as well, and so is Orisa. But I want to explain why. And why, like, this is really confusing why Blizzard have decided to buff Hanzo, who was basically the best projectile damage dealing hero in the game up until the buff. And then he just got even better. It's so weird. All right, so let's just take a look at this. Now, remember, this is a Reinhardt that is standing still. It's very easy for me to hit this. Very easy for me to land headshots. In the game, he'd be moving. He'd be using his barrier. He'd also be getting resources from his team put into him. Things like Zarya bubbles, maybe an immortality field, stuff like that, right? Or he would just straight up be being healed. But the point I want to get across here is just the amount of damage you can put out. Now, I did have a damage mod installed here in the workshop, but I've decided to get rid of that because, frankly, you won't see that in the game anyway, and you can visualize how fast this happens. So what I'm going to do is shoot him in the head, and then I'm going to use Storm Arrows and continue shooting him in the head. So watch this, right? Bang. He's dead, and I've still got 2 arrows left to go. That's a lot of damage. But remember, that will be really hard to do in the game. What isn't hard to do in a match is to just fire into Reinhardt anyway. So if we just wait for Storm Arrows to come back up. Okay, so I'm going to hit him, and I'm just going to keep spamming into him. Look at the damage I'm doing to this Reinhardt. Okay, he would have his barrier out. And then my argument to that is, well, it's even easier to hit him when he's got his barrier out. So if he comes running at us with his barrier, we're just going to slam him. Imagine his barrier's out. We're just doing damage to the barrier. He's got to run away now. He's dropped his barrier. He needs resources into him. He's taking loads of damage. Poor old woe is Reinhardt. So what is going on here? Now, it's not just Echo. Or should I say Hanzo? It's also Echo, right? Because Echo can do a lot of damage. Watch this. Again, Echo is just disgusting. And right now, we're seeing a very strong meta of Echo and Hanzo being played. Granted, Hanzo is being played because he's flavor of the month. He just got a buff for no reason. So everyone's like, yeah, let's play Hanzo. But it means bad times for Reinhardt and all of the main tanks. So, again, with Echo, you're going to open with this. You maybe do a bit of this. It's beautiful. Then you just go straight in with a beam of 50% health for the maximum damage of the beam. And you just wreck people. So imagine Hanzo now, with me on Echo, firing into this Reinhardt, while he's got his barrier up, well, he's suffering a lot. He's taking loads of damage. His front line is dead. He can't do anything. Now, this, again, is another issue with Reinhardt, I think, being an older hero in the game. Now, one of the things I've always said is you can only really do one thing with Reinhardt. You're shielding, or you're damaging. And wait, that's not exactly accurate, because there is something else Reinhardt can do, which he cannot do in the current state of the game, just because of the amount of front-loaded damage which is launched into you, right? That you can't really avoid, and you're just going to have to deal with it. It's this. Reinhardt would walk forward with his barrier. Now, in older versions of Overwatch, this was really powerful. You know, it's the meme, isn't it? Press W, walk through the choke, right? This is really great. You can push forward. Over we go. We're taking all the damage, whatever. Our barrier is fine. Then we get into melee range. We can do damage. The problem is now, you're taking so much damage straight away. You don't have a barrier. Like, you are annihilated. Like, I'm having sort of flashbacks to trying to walk through Hanamura first point choke, and you just walk around the corner. Uh-oh, there's a Hanzo, there's an Echo. Oh my god, look at the damage. You just took massive damage, and Reinhardt's literally won. He's dead. He's got to run away. He's pointless. That's a massive problem for Reinhardt, but it isn't just a Reinhardt problem. Winston suffers from this, and it is so bad for Winston. So think of a Winston player. What's he going to do? Well, Winston is going to jump on you, right? Or he's going to get real close to you to try and zap you. Now, jumping onto a Hanzo, it's never really been a good plan for Winston, right? Even back in the day with scatter arrows, you just blast it into the floor and it would just one-shot him. It was stupid. But even now, watch this. He jumps onto me like this. I'm just going to give him this, right? I don't care. He might drop his barrier. How's that in his head? He might drop his barrier and then sort of weave in and out of it, but you just don't care. As the Hanzo player, you're just going to be like, whatever, I'm just going to walk into you because I know that you can't kill me before I can kill you. So I'm just going to be like, whatever, Winston, get out of the game. Remember, this is a tank, right? You're just killing him. So what of tanks can't you do this to? Now, Wrecking Ball. This is a hero we probably need to talk about in the tank category, because this hero is kind of broke. Now, it did get nerfed. It only gets 75 shields instead of 100 shields from adaptive shields now per target. That's within range. The problem is, though, it's not the number of shields that he gets. It's the fact you can't get ultimate charge from them. So when Wrecking Ball uses his adaptive shields and you start doing damage to him as he's like flying through your team and then he gets away, provided you don't remove all of his shields and start doing actual damage to him, you get no ult charge. But Wrecking Ball does, because he's doing damage to you and he's getting away. But the thing is, it's the fact that he can do stuff without any risk to himself in a way. I know Wrecking Ball is playing on the edge a lot, and if he gets stunned, caught out, he's going to suffer. But the other hero that can do this is Sigma. Now, this hero was nerfed, but what Sigma can do is suck, which means that he takes no damage from projectiles. Okay, beams can still hurt him, but projectiles won't, and the damage he absorbs converts into shields for himself. Now, consider that with Winston, consider it with Reinhardt, consider it with Orisa. They can't do that. Okay, Orisa can use Fortify to negate some damage, but she's still taking damage. She's still giving ult charge to the enemy, and she's still taking damage. So that's the problem, right? Frontlining with main tanks, or just using main tanks in Overwatch, I guess, as they're intended to be right now, it's almost pointless. But the thing is, they're all old heroes. Sigma is the latest tank hero in the game. Ball is the tank hero before him. You can see that their design has evolved. And I think the only thing I can say here for Blizzard is maybe there are things that we don't know what's going on. Maybe they're planning for future heroes that get added to the game. Maybe they're planning for future changes to the game. But right now, there is a ton of front-loaded damage in the game, and it all stems from projectile heroes, especially Hanzo, who's frankly been buffed, and I don't really know why, which just makes him even better than he was. And it means that if you're a main tank player, you're in a world of hurt. I think the last thing I want to end the video on is the concept of, what is the best main tank meta, or best tank meta in Overwatch? Honestly, I think the best tank metas in Overwatch are when you do need a main tank. So things like Dive, things like, I don't really want to say Ghost, but things like Dive, which was built around Winston, who is the dive tank. Rushdown comps with your Reinhardt, they're all great. And also when they become map specific. So imagine if you were playing on Watchpoint Gibraltar, maybe you want to take the Winston instead of the Reinhardt because you're looking for that verticality. On King's Row, maybe you're taking the Reinhardt to get through the choke. The problem is right now, you're kind of better off taking 2 off tanks instead of a main tank. Because if you're the tank player, you're at the mercy of your team to keep you alive. If you're the main tank player, I must add, to keep you alive. Or you just die. Whereas if you play Sigma, you play Roadhog, if you play Ball, Zarya to some extent, D.Va, she's still a bit of an alt battery right now. But those aforementioned heroes, you can do something. And it's more engaging to play. It's a really weird thing, and I hope this is something Blizzard are looking at sorting. I mean, we might see where things like, heroes like Reinhardt ultimately get changed because they are old heroes. So maybe there's some sort of major rework on the cards for Reinhardt and Winston and stuff going forward in the future. But the fact is, the game right now, you can do so much damage to tanks that if you're a main tank player, I really feel sorry for you. All right, guys, thank you for watching the video. And yeah, I'd like to know your thoughts on this, especially if you're a tank player. How would you fix this? Like, what would you look at doing to make changes to the game to make it more interesting for you? Again, there are things in the game which can kind of make the game super boring, especially when double shield becomes meta. So you don't really want tanks with shields everywhere, but also you don't want tanks to die instantly when they're supposed to be frontlining, or at least, well, being able to tank, and when off tanks are more survivable than an actual main tank. What's going on there? I don't know. Overwatch is a complex game, guys. Never forget that. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video, and I will catch you lovely lot on the next one. Toodaloo. Whoosh.